born into the system, and they rightfully have an expectation, if they're good kids and they're the freaking best, that they deserve Christmas gifts. What do I do then? Being a good dad, I tell them that there's no Santa Claus. We don't believe in the boogeyman. There's no mystery. Daddy's going to go out, Mommy's going to go out and buy you some gifts. Right? But because of what I know what's about to happen, and because I know that there's an expectation within my house, I plan effectively ahead of time in order to facilitate both their expectations and my needs. What's my need? I have a need to satisfy my family. I want to keep my... What dad doesn't want to keep their family satisfied? Within the best of my financial means, within the best of my emotional means, within the best of my intellectual means, I want to keep my family satisfied. And I don't say this arbitrarily. I don't want to floss and get a little cocky, but, you know, there is a foundation in the political, in Aristotle, right? In the family, right? The familial structure throughout all of theoretical discourse on the function of the political. It has always been rooted in family. We look at the family, and I mean the nuclear family. This is going to change, but I don't want to get into that. But we look, and when I say we, I'm talking academics. Look at the family and familial relations in terms of sort of the initial conceptual generalized framework with which we come to understand the functioning of the political. The need of those policymakers is intelligence. I need to have that intelligence because I recognize that there are events that are time sensitive, which are looming, and I have to make the decision on how I'm going to act because I'm not the type of political sovereign that is going to be taken by surprise. You're not going to find me political sovereign on the day before the anticipated date. For me, Jason Campbell, it's the 24th of December, frantically trying to scurry and plan it. That's not my style. I don't operate like that, and I don't like being in situations where people are, oh, make the decision now, oh, I don't know, I have enough information, but tell me in 4 seconds. What's that thing? A rush on your part doesn't mean necessitate a rush on my part. I'm very strategic. I don't even have to be doing this lecture series. I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning, out the door, planning, doing this lecture series for some point in the future, which is probably 6 months from now. I'm planning, this work is for 6 to 8 months from now. That's where I'm at. I don't got time to be making decisions on the fly. Weak. Weak. Intelligence community needs to give policymakers intelligence because they need it. I need, says the policymaker, this intelligence because I have to make the decisions. And those decisions are time sensitive and we don't got all day to sit around and play. And I can't make informed decisions on the fly. I need time to sit down and deliberate. If we do this, what do you think will happen? Here's what they say about Intel, blah, 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 blah. Just the receipt of the intelligence itself, there's a process of time. There's a process of time that needs to elapse in order for that information to be ingested, digested. I like that. Ingested first, then digested. It's a nice little play on words. So that the idea is the intelligence needs are going to frame the way in which the policymakers obligate the intelligence community. Right? That's the gem, right? The intelligence needs are going to frame the desires, really, the directives, I love that word, the directives of the policymakers in terms of how they obligate the intelligence community. And I don't specifically mean to say that it's a subordinated role. I recognize it's more lateral. I'm a hierarchy guy, so I do like subordination. You know you can subordinate without subjugating. That's a different story. But I do like the relationship of subordination. But the idea is, irrespective of whether it's lateral or subordinated, the idea is the policymakers have needs, and those needs condition the way in which intelligence is cultivated, in which intelligence is gathered. What it can't be, we see this immediately. What it can't be is policymakers, need you, intelligence community, to legitimize my presumption. If that's the case, then you're not really doing intelligence. Then none of this works. Then all of this collapses. Because what you then have is a fascist regime, right? That is the fascist state. The fascist state is, I need you, policymakers, need you to legitimize my assumptions. I need you to legitimize my beliefs. So the whole process of quote-unquote gathering information is really just a justification of presumptions that exist. There is no intelligence there. True, legitimate intelligence would be, here are our policy needs. We need this type of data. We assume it might be this. Tell us what the global snapshot looks like. The information is presented to policymakers, and policymakers say, holy crap, we didn't expect it to be that. I didn't think it was that sensitive. I didn't think it was this important. I didn't think that that's what. Okay, wow. Now, because of the information that you've given us, we need something else, right? That's a properly functioning processional loop between the intelligence community and policymakers. But the idea that the intelligence community is subservient, right, which is incorrect, right? The idea that the intelligence community is subservient to policymakers and merely collect information to reinforce assumptions of policymakers or desires of policymakers, or to conform with lobbyists who inform policymakers, or whatever you want to bring into it, that undermines the entire system of intelligence. Then intelligence really does become meaningless, right? Then it becomes the exercise of force for the purpose of exercising force. Now, could it be the case that it's not mutually exclusive, that sometimes that is the case because of whatever reasons, and sometimes it genuinely is doing intelligence? I think it's that. I think sometimes intelligence is misused. This happens all the time. But I do believe in the intelligence system, and I do believe most of the time the intelligence, and I could be naive, but I do believe that most of the time the intelligence community is operating in a manner that is conducive to reason, right? That it is rationally trying to assess the situation given the information at the time, the best information from the best minds at the time. You can't ask for more than that, right? If it's anything other than that, if it's just, and I had to stop there to explain that because it's very important. If it's anything other than that, then it's not intelligence. Then it's fascism 101, right? And that's a whole different, which would be a very interesting lecture series, right? I know for a fact one lecture series I will never give. I might give Marx, because people keep asking me about Marx, possibly. But I'm definitely never going to give Fascism 101, right? That's the lecture series I'm not going to give. But, so anyway, top of page 4. So, intelligence needs, I think we understand now. Top of page 4. Holy crap, time is flying! I feel like I need to speed this along, but I mean, I'll gauge. So, here's a pro of the intelligence needs. So we're talking about intelligence needs now, and I'm going to talk about a pro of the intelligence needs. Pro. In terms of, top of page 4, in terms of diplomatic relations, policymakers may have a better sense of what condition may need to be satisfied in order to facilitate an agreement. Policymakers recognize that we, the United States of America, Britain, Soviet Union, France, are having some political tension with member nation X. And in order to facilitate greater diplomatic relations, we send our diplomats to do what diplomats do. They sit down, they have a cup of coffee, they have old school. It's always old school. I don't care how much tech you got. It's always old school. Let's sit down, let's have a cup of coffee, let's drink a beer, let's chat about what's your beef with us, here's our beef with you, how can we squash this? What can we do? This is it. This is really what it is. People sitting down in a room, literally face to face talking. And that really is it. There is no secret in that. But the idea is that information, right, is satisfied in order to hopefully facilitate some agreement. Now, This knowledge will profoundly